And the third game we have for this episode is One Deck Dungeon.
The designer is Cieslik, the artist Alanna Cervenak, and Will Pitzer. Apologies for pronunciation there. And the publisher is Asmadi Games.
So One Deck Dungeon is essentially a one-player game, although there is a two-player version, and if you own a second copy of the game or the expansion, you can play up to 4 players. But I think the original design was for it to be a one-player game.
Mm-hmm.
We did only play this as 2 players, so we are coming at it from that perspective. If you're looking for solo gameplay, this is probably, that might help you out a little bit, because it mostly is the same game anyway.
Right.
So each player is going to choose a character, and I'll describe the game playing it like without the campaign mode, and then I'll explain the campaign mode here in a minute. You choose a character. Your character will have stats. It'll have how many yellow dice, blue dice, and purple dice you get, which is strength and magic and agility. How many hit points you have before you die. If any character on the it's a cooperative game. If any character dies, you all lose the game. So every time you take damage, you kind of push it back and forth between you until somebody takes too many and they die. And then the reason it's called One Deck Dungeon is you choose a boss, and then you take all the cards in the game, and that's the deck. That's the dungeon you're playing through. And what happens is you're going to flip the boss over. So say you play the dragon. On the backside of the dragon, it's going to have 3 floors that you must traverse through before you get to flip it over and fight the dragon. The way that works is each floor you're going to go through the deck one time. And at the end of the deck, you get to descend down the stairs into floor 2. You reshuffle everything and go through it again. When you are taking a turn, the first thing you will do as a team is discard 2 cards off the top of the deck. This is called time. So in the dragon's case, the first floor also makes you get rid of 5 cards in addition to your action for your round off the top of the deck to start the dungeon. So what it does is actually make the floors shorter because you're getting rid of more cards. And then, so you'll get to begin. You have 2 different actions you can choose. You can choose to explore, which will fill up the grid in front of you. You can basically have 4 cards face down on the table. These are doors to rooms of the dungeon that you're crawling through. If you need more of them, you would explore and then fill in the holes. Each time you descend down a staircase, you don't have any in front of you, so your first action is always to explore, which will fill up to 4 cards. Then your turn's done, you start a new turn, you spend 2 action, and you get to choose another action. Or spend 2 time, spend another action. The other type of action is to encounter one of these face-down cards or face-up cards. When you encounter a card, you flip it over, and it's either going to be a creature or it's going to be a peril, which is basically a trap. You can choose to do that thing or not. You can skip it and leave it face up, but then you have to end the round and start a new round and discard 2 cards for time. So you would burn some time to look down that hallway of the dungeon and be like, screw that. We're going this way. The reason is because some of the cards are basically you'll get experience from them if you choose to take it as experience. And there's 2, 3, and 4. So your first card might be a 4 and it's too hard to deal with. Or maybe it's a creature that requires a lot of magic and maybe your characters don't have a lot of magic dice to roll. You're going to decide, what the best idea is. Maybe you'll skip something and come back to it once you get a little bit better. Anyway, when you choose to encounter one of these things, you're going to gather up all the dice that your character is allowed and you roll them 1 time. And then you're going to use abilities and stuff like that to mitigate your dice rolls. You can spend magic dice to cast spells and stuff like that. And the way the dice, it's like a dice placement game almost, because the creature will have single wide boxes and double wide boxes. If it's single, it's basically the same size as a die, and you put a die on top of it. So it might have a sword that says 4+, which means you have to put a yellow die, because all the yellow dice are melee, on there that's either a 4 or higher to cover that space up. If it's a double wide space, then you can put as many dice as you want on there of that color. So if it's an agility score and it says 11+, obviously you can't get 11 on 1 die, so you have to combine dice and put them on top of it. Once you're done placing all your dice and doing all your mitigation rolls and such, then you're always going to win the card no matter what. It just depends on how well you mitigate the damages it's going to bring at you. So if it had like 5 or 6 spots to fill up and you only filled up 3, then maybe the other 2 will say, suffer 2 time for this one and then maybe take a damage for this one. So even if you didn't cover up a single thing on the card, if you chose to encounter it, you'll win the card, but you might get beat up in the process. So you're trying to just mitigate what you lose. When you gather a card, before that, the other type of card is peril. It's a trap, and it usually is thematically making a choice. So maybe you saw a spike trap. Maybe you'll try to climb over it, but it costs agility, or maybe you'll try to bash it down, which costs strength. One of them might be easier than the other, but it requires some more time to do that one. So climbing around it might take a lot more time, but it's easier than just smashing through it. But smashing through it might require you to have a higher value of strength dice to do it. Anyway, either way, once you claim a card, no matter if it's a creature or a peril, you get to choose to add it to your party as experience. Once you get so much experience, you level up, and that dictates how many skill cards each player can have and how many item cards each player can have. These are attached to your card. If you choose to take a card as a skill, you'll put it underneath your player board, and it'll give you another mitigation skill, like spend a blue die of 5+ to do this spell, or get rid of a yellow die to gain 2 purple dice, stuff like that. The other thing you can take it as is items, and the items will go on the left-hand side of your player board and increase your dice count for each of the type of dice, and possibly even your health. The last thing you can take it for is kind of like a skill, but it's a potion that goes off on your player board that shows your experience level for the group, and it gives you different potions that you can spend your potion tokens on, and you'll get those varying ways. So once you go through all 3 floors, you flip over the boss. The boss works just like a creature, except for when you place a die on top of one of its spaces that includes a skull, you damage the boss for 1 point of damage. And if you don't kill it in one round, you play another round, you keep going, you clear off all the dice and stuff off the card, and you keep going until either you lose as a party or you kill it. And that's pretty much the game. If you want to play a campaign mode, the way that works is you take one of the character sheets or the sheets off the paper or the pad or whatever for each player. Each player gets one. And if you play through a dungeon, you're going to get experience points when you complete it, or even if you fail. You'll get experience points like for every level your party went up, for every dungeon floor you cleared, for the boss depending on its difficulty. You also will set a difficulty before you play that round. Like maybe you'll set veteran, which is basically a standard game. But you might also do like an easier game where you actually start with an ability. Or you might play a harder game where you don't start with as many potion tokens or something like that. But you get bonus points for depending on the difficulty of the dungeon. The dungeon, or after you beat or complete a playthrough, you get to spend those points on different abilities on that character sheet. And the whole idea is you're trying to play as little as games as possible and kill all the bosses. And then once you kill all the bosses, that's pretty much the game. You said, oh, we beat all the bosses in 6 plays. There's only 5 bosses, so that's probably not going to happen, I would hope, but maybe so. I don't know. We're almost there. Almost there. So, George, what you kind of watch us play this, right?
I've watched you play it. It looks like you're having a good time. There's a whole lot of dice rolling, and if you don't roll well, I suppose there's not much to do. You know, if you have certain abilities that can mitigate, that's one thing, but still, if you just keep rolling badly, we've talked about this on another game
that we just talked about.
So I'm wondering, did it rub you the same way in this one, or have you not had that sort of luck yet?
Well, I think because it's cooperative, no matter what, but
it gives you a decent amount of mitigation and things to do with your dice, depending on how you build your character. Also, a lot of times, even if you roll poorly, whatever you're facing, you're still going to overcome it. You just might take some hits, or it might cost you extra time.
Yeah, I guess like you'll fight something, you're like, we really need that skill to progress. So you might roll, and if you don't cover everything up, you get beat up in the process, but you still get the skill or the item or whatever.
Okay. So you haven't found it to be too punishing?
No. If anything, for myself, I kind of feel like it's as you progress through it, it gets easier and easier.
Yeah. See, the problem with campaign mode is you fight the first boss, you get points, you spend it, you get a basic ability you start the game with. Then you play more, and then now you start with an extra potion. And then Eric's got an ability to mitigate stuff. Because on the campaign sheet, you have a basic list of abilities that you can put into, and you have 3 specializations, and you'd only start the round or start the game with one of those active.
Okay.
So like I'm a healer basically, and he's a warrior, whatever it is.
Paladin.
Well, you're a paladin, I'm a mage, but I'm saying like your specialization.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
You're specializing in combat, I think,
Right.
and I'm specializing in healing.
Okay.
And so you're getting more abilities, but I don't feel like the deck is getting. First off, the deck
It's
never
not
changes.
ramping up fast enough, maybe.
Oh, your abilities change, but the deck doesn't change.
Kinda. So when you choose a harder boss, the floor, how you go through all 3 floors, it will add extra requirements to every creature or every peril. That is what's increasing the difficulty, but I don't think that outweighs the abilities you've been gaining.
Okay.
Is what I mean by that.
Right.
The bosses are seemingly a little bit harder.
Unless you get, specific potions, and
Yeah.
they'll make it quite a bit easier for you to overcome.
Oh yeah. There's like one potion called heroism, which basically you spend it and
Change 2 dice to 6s.
Oh man.
Yeah.
oh dude, it's like we
It's
just
so
save all
nice.
our potions till then. We're beat up at the end, and it's just like you just wipe out the boss.
Yeah.
That's not good. Does it seem like the sort of game where it would just be better to play it as a one-off and then not do the campaign?
No, I do like the campaign. I do
Yeah?
like that. You have every game you have an ability, or what you're doing is making your character better. You're getting more
Sure.
equipment, and all that good stuff. More hit points, more dice to bring in battle. You might go after certain creatures or whatnot to get certain dice to your pool. Like, we don't have a lot of agility. We really need this dice to get more agility in our team. So that's every game. And on top of that, since you get XP, if you do the campaign, then you can kind of make your character better game to game, which I like.
Right. So you're really getting that feel of a dungeon crawler in a
Yeah,
small
kinda.
package.
In a small package, yeah.
And it's not, the replayability is such that you don't feel that you're doing the same thing. And now you have a slightly better ability, and now you do the same thing.
We've played it 3-4 times, I think, so far right now, and haven't really.
I want to play it more. Let's put it that way.
I haven't felt that yet, just because. I mean, you do go through the same deck, so you are coming across some same things over and over, but you're also finding out new things, because every time you go through the floor, you're not necessarily coming across the same perils and same creatures, because you only flip over, maybe a third of the deck.
Sure.
Right.
And honestly, this really intrigues me because I am not what you consider an expert player or a pro,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm slowly building up my level skills.
Yeah.
And this one sounds like something,
No, I think
even
you'll
though
like
you
it.
have the same deck cards, but you have new abilities or whatnot with them. For someone like me, that takes a little bit to start really getting into the game and finding a strategy that would best fit for me in the game or whatnot. This would be ideal, and it
Oh, yeah.
sounds fun. It's very intriguing to me.
And you like co-ops as well.
I love co-ops.
It's awesome. I mean, with 2 people, I don't know if I'd play this with 1 player, but I'm just not a solo gamer anyway.
They
Right.
do say best.
Yeah, Board Game Geek has the best at 1, and I'm sure it plays fine at 1.
It probably does, but here's
And-
what you missed though. Check this out. When we're playing it, we'll roll, because you only get 1 roll. It's not like Yahtzee.
Right, you don't get 3 rolls.
Yeah, you roll once, and then the activation of your skills actually matters, because Eric has an ability.
The order of the activation.
The order of them, yeah.
Yeah.
The way Eric's character, the paladin, allows your partner
Mm-hmm.
to re-roll ones, but I can't use it right now, so I have to roll, and then maybe Eric's going to give me other dice or do something specific, and then maybe I don't need to re-roll ones because, for whatever reason, because maybe I should save it, add more dice or whatever, or maybe like the abilities that you're like. I'm going one way to try to convert some dice with magic spells from blue to other colors. But if Eric does certain things first, he might be able to fulfill those. So there's a lot of communication on what you're doing. It's just not like me trying to get the highest number of all the dice I have.
Right. And Kat, you would enjoy that as well.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
co-op part of it.
It's so juicy.
Call back
Yeah, call back.
to Cyclades.
If you're watching the video, go watch our Cyclades. But I mean, I guess there could be an alpha gamer who would be like, no, we got to do all these things. But the cool thing about it is you also are at the whim of rolls.
Actually, on some games such as like Pandemic, there could be an alpha gamer, but in this game, since you're usually rolling quite a few dice, you don't have time to like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and you should do this. I'm kind of focused on my dice,
Yes.
and he's focused on his dice, and we're like, okay, I can take care of this. Can you take care of that? Because I don't have anything for that. He's like, oh yeah, I can turn my blue into yellow, so I can try to help there.
So you really feel like you're doing your job mostly.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So
cool.
I don't really feel any times where you're like, all right, let one person kind of scheme out everything.
Right.
Okay.
And I like that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And Kat, I don't know how you would feel about this, but I noticed in some of the comments about this game, a lot of people were saying that all of the characters are female, which is unusual for a dungeon crawl, and they are wearing like
Appropriate
dungeon
gear.
appropriate
Yeah.
garb.
Do you want me to buy some dungeon appropriate garb? Is that what you're saying?
Some dungeon inappropriate. actually. So no.
Well then, like,
No, I was just saying, does that appeal to you as a female gamer? Are you like, oh, well, that's
That's cool to
I like
play
that, or do you think I don't care?
female characters.
Well, I mean, I am a female character, I guess, a player, so
You're a female character.
I
you
am
are.
intrigued. I've already mentioned that a little bit earlier, but I'm also, I'm big in performing arts, and I like role playing, and becoming someone or a character would be ideal for me. Yeah, I'd go for it. I'm down.
I'm usually just so focused on mechanisms of game I can give a crap less.
What,
So I
what
didn't
the
even-
character is.
I didn't even notice. The only time I
After-
notice is if
at
somebody
the
hands me a
beginning.
dwarf. I'm like, I'm not playing a dwarf. That literally is like my requirement. I don't play dwarves.
I'm with you. I hate dwarves.
Yeah, I
Oh,
hate
really?
dwarves. Yeah, basically, so I'm not sexist. I'm racist. Against
hate
dwarves. Let's
Against fantasy races.
yeah,
That's
no,
right.
against fantasy races. Yes, like I don't like halflings either.
Yeah, nothing short.
Although I do like goblins.
D&D,
They're pretty
don't like
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Goblins are neat. So
Nah, no, they're not.
they need to kill. No. Anyway, I mean I thought that was pretty cool. I do like the fact that they're in actual like garb they would wear in a dungeon, because bikinis don't protect you. It's like, but the artwork's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the artwork. I like all the graphic arts and stuff. I don't know. This game is awesome.
I don't know. Princess Leia did well in a bikini.
That's-
Oh yeah, she'd kill Jabba in a bikini.
That's true.
with a chain. She'd be like gangster style, like gang. Reminds me of Necromunda.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, back to the game. I also like that there's a fair amount of gameplay in a small box, so
oh yes.
I do like that aspect of it as well.
And they have expansions.
They
Well, they-
have one expansion that is standalone, but you also can put it together, or you can buy two copies of it if you want to play it for more than two
Wait.
people.
And if you really wanted to be Princess Leia, they have One Deck Galaxy coming out.
Oh.
Do they really?
They
Yes.
well, I don't know. If Princess
It's on
Leia's in it,
pre-order.
but it's their thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I will say this.
I hear you.
Normally, because I like this game a lot. Eric got me the expansion, and it does everything I hate about an expansion, and I'm so excited to play it. I don't like expansions that replace components to play it. Like that was my problem with Valley of the Kings. Is like, to play this,
Take
take
out
out
these
all of
cards.
one set and add another
Yeah,
set.
no, I'm with you. That's a pain. Yeah.
It is a pain. In this one, it's each deck dungeon box, I guess, has certain cards they have, or at least in the base game, in the expansion, they have expansion symbols. And I haven't really read through all the way it works, but basically you're going to take away half the deck and add half the expansion deck, or all the expansion deck. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of combine them in a way, but you don't just shuffle all of it together.
Right.
Okay, because that would be a really big.
It would actually
dungeon.
ruin the dungeon floors.
Right.
Yeah.
So normally I'm against that. I hate that, but I am looking pretty forward to it.
So
Although
is it at random that you take out those cards?
no, I think you take out all the
Certain
expansion
cards.
symbol ones and put all the expansion symbols in.
Okay.
Like you take out like all of one symbol and put all of another symbol. The only other problem too is that the expansion seems to be the exact same difficulty climb. So you can't like, it's not like you're
Oh.
taking your characters on
To
more
the next
adventures.
level,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
You're going to like replay the game with the expansion stuff.
Right.
Doesn't seem like the sort of thing you could easily house rule though.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like it'll be fine, but if they come out with another expansion that does the
Well, you-
exact same thing, I'm
Yeah.
probably done.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be very samey. They like the
Yeah.
next expansion needs to like progress, like,
Ma-
harder and
ramp stuff
harder.
up.
yeah, ramp stuff
Yeah.
up, add something new, add a new mechanism
Mhm.
or whatever. But it's fine doing it once. I feel like it's okay. Because it does add some stuff that has like poison counters. There's new characters or all new abilities and stuff. So that's all new, but it is really the same game.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel the same way about Wingspan.
That's fair. Cool.
So I'll say that a lot of people are saying that they played it within 30 minutes. That's really not the playtime that we've experienced. It's been more 45 minutes, an hour. So I'm not sure if that's because we're just going slowly and we're playing at 2 players.
You play 2-player and you discuss everything. So
yeah.
That's
So
true. Our
keep that in mind.
win ratio is really good. So take that,
Right.
internet.
yeah, that's true. A lot of people were also saying that it's brutal, but you haven't experienced that at all.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I have.
I've reread the
heard.
rules
Yeah.
3 times now. And
Okay.
they're,
It's like,
I don't know. I mean, maybe
We're doing
we were
really
better
good.
than you guys.
yeah.
But
I'll also say there is one thing that there's some balance issues on your starting character, and supposedly that the ranger is kind of weak compared to the others. I think they've
'cause,
addressed that.
it's basic ability they start with.
Right. I think they have addressed that and maybe changed it around.
But you also have Eric rolling dice, so
Oh,
I mean, that's why we're just blowing through
right.
it. Yeah.
There you
I
go.
think so.
You're welcome.
The game was a challenge. Thanks, Eric. We did lose the first game.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So,
No, we got to the boss. Yeah, we failed on the boss.
Oh, I saw you do that. Yeah,
yeah.
that was
Because you
entertaining.
didn't have the appropriate garb.
That's right.
And Eric was just a little rusty. He was
Yeah.
rusty. He had to build up that the dice rolling.
Yeah.
But all right. Anything else? Any final thoughts with this one? I think.
No, I liked it. It'll be a good couples game. It'll be a good game to play, with your kids, and
Oh, you know what?
obviously, I guess a good solo game as well.
Apparently,
Let's ask it this. I mean, we haven't actually finished it. We have like 1 or 2 bosses left.
I thought it was like 2 or 3 bosses left.
No, I think we've killed 3 of them.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it was 5. The expansion has 6, but I can't remember if the base game has 5 or 6. So we have 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure it's 5. So then we
Okay.
have 2 left.
hmm
And we only failed once.
That's right.
Maybe we are cheating. I don't know. But if you finish this game as a campaign, do you think you would play the base game again? Or does it feel like, oh, that's good?
I think for me, yeah, it's like I finished it up, and I might return to it after some time, but not right away. I don't
Yeah.
think.
I agree
Once-
with that. 100%.
Once the campaign's done.
Other than the expansion, I would play the expansion with new characters or whatever.
Right.
But cool.
what sort of game is it similar to, where you're rolling dice, you're placing those dice in order to succeed or fail? Is it sort of like an Elder Sign kind of feel, do you think, or is it?
No, I didn't
Much
get the Elder
easier
Sign
than-
kind of feel. Although I guess it's kind of similar on the things that you're trying to do.
I think similarity wise, what you're doing, we haven't played it yet, but it would be similar to Roll for Adventure. If you've ever seen
Yeah.
how that game plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Roll for Adventure by Cosmos would be the first game I can think of that's close to it. Even though that game doesn't have a deck of cards, but you're essentially doing a lot of the same stuff.
Okay.
Hmm.
So,
Cool.
if you're looking for another game to check out, that one plays up to 4, I think. Yeah.
But it has a similar feel. You like that one as well.
I haven't played it.
Oh, okay.
I have it. We need to play it.
We should play it.
We should.
All
So
right.
maybe tomorrow.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Sounds good.
anything else? I really like this game too. Yeah. I mean, obviously. I think Eric was surprised when I was like, this game is awesome. I was like, oh.
All right.
I've watched you guys play it. It's the discussions are always interesting. Even the game where I watched you fail against the dragon, that was really nice. Like, you came close. It was fun.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun to watch. And the art is great.
Yes, it is great. And and Eric was
That's all I
right.
can
It's
say.
a small package, a lot of game.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Well, anyway, does it look good? Kat, you gonna play it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Right after the show. No. That was One Deck Dungeon.